Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we have received a surprise new Star Wars Outlaws gameplay trailer thanks to its appearance at the Summer Games Fest as they released a trailer teasing the Ubisoft Forward event later on this week. And even though this trailer is relatively short, there is a ton here to unpack, and that is exactly what we are going to do today. But before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that, just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button and the bell notification right on next to it. It'll notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload. And if you would like to take the conversation beyond YouTube and to somewhere else, make sure to jump over to Twitter and follow us at Lunar Squadron. Now, with all that out of the way, Andreas, are you ready to get into a gameplay trailer breakdown?
Oh yeah, let's get into this, guys. Like you said, Nick, this is about 40 seconds of gameplay, and while it is brief, this is honestly my personal highlight for Summer Games Fest was this 40 seconds. It's really cool to see this game finally start to shape up, and everything that we've seen from this game looks so good. And with that said, Nick, let's plug right on into it. Starting off with this shot here, we have the Trailblazer, and it goes straight into Kay riding her speeder throughout Toshara. This shot, I don't think, is giving us anything new. We've seen speeder gameplay throughout Toshara, so I think we can kind of just glance over this and get into the next shot here.
Yeah, definitely, and we get to see some of that stealth gameplay that they've really been hyping up, especially if you have been paying attention to the Game Informer coverage of this game over the past few months. They've really been talking about the stealth mechanic in this game, and we finally get to see it here as Kay shocks that droid in this location. This to me looks like perhaps it might be Kajimi or something like that. Just some of the architecture, it looks very Kajimi-ish in nature. It doesn't look like it's a Toshara or a Tatooine or anything like that. Super excited to see where this ends up. And I think we've actually seen this particular droid in shots from Kajimi from one of the past trailers. I could totally be remembering that wrong, but I feel like we've seen this particular droid in the past. So as we continue, we get to then jump into this Cantina shot, Andreas, and there's a lot going on here to talk about.
Yeah, and of course, I'd like to start the conversation with our beloved Besh. On the left-hand side, nothing really notable in the Besh there. We did a translation and nothing really came up. On the right-hand side, on the top, that sign there says no weapons, which is cool. It makes me think, what happens if you do bring weapons into the Cantina? Will that trigger a wanted level, for example? Or is it going to just get you kicked out of the Cantina? Like, I want to know how much that escalates this, like, no weapons policy in the Cantinas. And then on the bottom, this looks to be some sort of an Imperial enlistment poster because it translates to join the Empire. So really cool touches to the environment here.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that we're going to hark on a lot throughout this breakdown, is just how alive the world feels throughout this trailer. And my big takeaway from this shot in particular is, look at all of the NPCs. They're all doing a bunch of different things. There's a bunch of different species. This world just feels alive. And we talk about this all the time, and this might not seem like a big deal, but details like this will add to open world games in particular. I'm just so excited to explore around these worlds that we will get in this game. And speaking of worlds, I'm going to guess that this is the Cantina on Miragana. There's no clear indications, but the next shot in this trailer does cut to Donka, and it's not clear if this is in the same location, but it could just be some smart manipulation from the marketing team cutting this trailer together. But we have seen from the Game Informer coverage again, I feel like they talked about the significance of coming across this character in the Cantina on Miragana, so would be interested to see if that is this particular that particular Cantina. Now, as the trailer continues, we get this very cool shot, and a lot of people might think that this is actually Canto Bight. A lot of the architecture looks very similar to what we've seen of that location in the past, Andreas, but this is actually not Canto Bight.
No, it is not. This is actually Akiva, and while the initial giveaway for that might be the rainy atmosphere, of course it's very rainy on Akiva, there's actually a completely dead giveaway. If you zoom into this area right here, this appears to be a Arabesh sign that is at the entrance of this building, and it reads the Alcazar, and the Alcazar is the cantina located on Akiva, specifically Akiva's capital, Mira. So this is the external area of the cantina on Akiva. So we have now seen quite a few different cantinas in this game. Of course, we know that there will be cantinas in the various different areas of this game. It's going to be a hub where a lot of activity is going on, where you can pick up missions, learn some intel, and so this is going to be one of those such locations, particularly on Akiva here.
Yeah, very cool. And I think this might be perhaps one of the landing spots for the Trailblazer. There's a sign off to the left that says ship parts, and it looks like there's a lot of ships around, so maybe this is one of those hub spots that we can land at. But as we continue, if you are looking for some sequences from Canto Bight, you are in luck, because this trailer then jumps to Canto Bight, and if you're wondering how we know that, the dead giveaway is standing right there, center frame. We see a Canto Bight police officer, which is very cool. That is a character design that Andreas and I have liked for a very long time. We always liked the look of the Canto Bight police officers, and there's a lot going on in this shot. If you take a look in the background, it looks like there's perhaps some sort of droid workshop or something going on back there. We see a protocol droid. We got an astromech. If you look inside the shop, it looks like there might be some gonk droids and other astromechs in there. Just some really cool stuff to explore and find out what's there. And then if you're wondering about the Arabesh signs there off to the right, we translated them. There was nothing significant or special. It looks like it's just a bunch of ads. Like one of them, for example, the yellow one says for rent rooms and stuff like that. So just stuff adding to the environments and atmospheric stuff going on in this game. Just a lot of cool minor details throughout the worlds here.
And talking about that Canto Bight guard, Nick, it looks like Nyx is stealing something from the Canto Bight guard. It almost looks like he's just found that out as he kind of turns around, and it looks like Nyx is running back towards you. And the next shot shows that Nyx is carrying something. I'm not quite sure what this is, but it again is just another showcase of how you can use Nyx throughout this game. You can use Nyx to attack people, and we'll see that later on in the trailer, but this is just another example of how useful your little companion will be in this game. And up next, this shot here is the city of Miragana, which we know is carved into that giant windswept rock on Toshara. And I love this shot. I'm a little upset that it isn't in 4K resolution. This isn't the best resolution of a trailer that we got. It's like a compressed teaser trailer, so apologies for that. But I think we can read into this shot just how dense Miragana is, and that's really what I'm taking away from this shot, is the density on Miragana.
Yeah, and that's something that I believe Julian Garrity himself has talked a lot about when it comes to cities like Miragana, is that they wanted to condense them and make them dense. They didn't want them just big for the sake of being big. They wanted them to be full of a lot of stuff to do, and you really see it here. And I love the verticality we're seeing from Miragana here, and I love that you can see like speeders going across the bridges. Again, just a ton of NPCs. These worlds feel alive. They're not just empty cities, and that is going to be a massive deal when it comes to this game being an open world game that you can explore. I know we're going to keep saying it, but it really does matter, stuff like this. And then the next shot in this trailer is the showstopper shot of this entire trailer. It's what everybody is talking about. Yes, it is confirmed to be in this game. A Celestin will appear in this game, Andreas.
Actually, Nick, I think people are actually excited about the fact that you can play Sabacc in this game, right? Like, that's surely what people are excited about with this shot, right?
Absolutely. It has everything to do with us getting a sequence here playing Sabacc. Now, of course, all jokes aside, guys, Lando Calrissian is confirmed to be in this game. That is a massive deal.
Yeah, it is. And I just like the entire vibe of this shot. The fact that you are going to be able to sit down and play Sabacc with an icon like Lando Calrissian. That is exactly what I want out of a smuggler experience. And you know what, Nick? I'll say it here. I'm so glad that we are getting to the heart of things in Star Wars. I'm so tired of seeing Star Wars properties dance around the important characters of Star Wars. Or if you're making an Outlaws game, it has to involve an outlaw such as Lando Calrissian. I'm so glad he's in this game.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, this game is starting to feel like somewhat of a spiritual successor to the Solo movie. If you think about like Qi'ra is making an appearance, Han, of course, is frozen in carbonite. We have Lando, and of course, we have the whole bounty hunter wars thing taking place right now. But it's just starting to feel like it's coming full circle. At least like this story is starting to connect to a lot of the other stories that we've seen in Star Wars. And this shot in particular really reminds me of Solo because if I remember correctly, when we first come across Lando, it is him sitting down playing cards. Like it's a very similar shot of Kay being introduced to Lando, just like Han was in that movie. So just some really cool parallels going on here with this game, especially with it being a smuggler outlaw type story. And then the next few shots, nothing super significant, just some scenic shots of Kay walking around various locations on Toshara. The next shot has what we believe might be a segment of Miragana. The big thing that I took away from this shot is there looks like there's like a droid parts little depot thing here on the right. That's what we believe the sign is attempting to say. It's not clear, again, just because of the quality of this footage. Is very compressed, but if you take a look at it, it looks like there might be some like B1 torso parts sitting on the table. In the background, there's a protocol droid. It looks like to the left, there's some astromech heads, and maybe on the right, even some pit droids. So it looks like there's just like a little droid workshop thing going on here, which again, very cool. The little details will add up with this game.
And up next, we've got this shot of Kajimi here, and you can see, again, there are definitely NPCs around this area, but the point that I want to highlight from this shot is just the atmospheric effects with the snow. Looks really great. I'm definitely excited to be exploring around Kajimi in this game, but really a shot that I'm very excited about is this one right here, because we speculated that there would be Fathier racing in this game, particularly because there was a very subtle mention to a famous Fathier racer, Arca Yuroka, in the initial gameplay trailer, and so we were speculating at the very outset whether there would be Fathier races, and of course we know we're going to be on Canto Bight, so it would just make sense that you could bet on Fathier races in this game. Particularly you have Sabak, maybe other card games, and this here suggests that we will have Fathier races to bet on. At the top you can see an Arabesh. It translates to racetrack hub, so I'm hoping that you are going to get to bet on some Fathier races in Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah, that would be really cool, especially since we know there will be more of those like gambling type modes in this game. They talked about it when it came to the rating system and stuff like that. So just really cool to see. And one thing I do want to touch on before we continue that you mentioned about the atmospheric stuff, and one thing we really noticed from this trailer was just you will see so many different locations with different times of day, different weather patterns. And I kind of talked about in our recent video from the NVIDIA gameplay about how it was cool to see Toshara at different times of day. And I was wondering if that would be dynamic lighting, thinking of a Horizon type game where the lighting changes as you play, or if it will be story driven. But nevertheless, whether it is story driven or it is just taking place in the open world in real time, it will be so cool to see these locations change time and change weather. I know that was one of the big complaints when it came to Spider-Man 2 last year, was just you didn't have enough of that dynamic changes going on with the time of day, and people just didn't really love that. It felt like you were just exploring the same thing over and over again. So really cool to see that. And here we have a shot of Tatooine. This is obviously Tatooine. You can see a dewback right there. You got Womp Rat down there on the bottom left. It looks like we're in some sort of market area. It looks like there's some Melu runs right there over on the right. And way in the back, it looks like there are some Banthas back there hanging out, which, again, just really cool seeing all these iconic animals and species from especially Tatooine and just the Star Wars universe in general. Now, Andreas, I can't really tell. We know that Mos Eisley and Espa and all of those locations will be in the game. I can't really tell which one we're in right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a fine line when you're deep in the streets without any landmarks to actually point to and figure out, are we in Mos Eisley or Mos Espa? So let us know in the comments down below where you guys think we are. I'm going to go ahead and guess Mos Eisley, but let me know in the comments down below what you think and why. But one thing I want to point out again is just how active the NPC involvement is here. And I think it goes beyond the NPCs, because it's a combination of them with the wildlife in the city streets with all the detail. You have that person like mixing like a stew in the street. Ubisoft, if they do anything really well, it is populating environments in their open worlds. They've done it time and time again with Assassin's Creed, and I think they're bringing that expertise with this game, and it's nice to see populated Star Wars environments. That is what I want out of a Star Wars open world game, and it looks like they're delivering on that front, at least with the shots that we've seen thus far.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to the gameplay, it definitely feels like they're checking a lot of the boxes for what we are looking for when it comes to an open world Star Wars game. So that is incredibly exciting to see. And then speaking of iconic Star Wars characters appearing in this trailer, we get to see Jabba the Hutt and his right-hand man, Bib Fortuna, and then the shot cuts to Andreas's favorite character.
Yeah, we got my favorite Kowakian monkey lizard, Salacious B. Crumb, in the house. Wish this was in 4K, but, you know, I'll settle for the close-up in compressed 1080 here. Of course, we were talking about having to have those iconic outlaw types and syndicate types. You can't do that without characters such as this. This section of the trailer here is something that we have seen before. It's just more footage of Kay going around on her speeder over water. Here, we've got some new dogfighting gameplay. Nick, I'm not sure there's anything that really stands out here. This is excellent footage to include in a sizzle reel just to show more of the dynamic aspects of this game, but I don't know if there's any crazy details hidden in here. We thought for a second that this ship ahead might be a blockade runner or a corvette, but it doesn't look quite like one, so I'm not sure there's anything bearing mentioning there. And then, of course, this shot is something that we have seen in the gameplay segment that we saw in one of the first interactions with this game, is Kay running away from the pikes on her speeder on Toshara, and I think that's what we're seeing here, right?
It definitely looks very reminiscent to that segment. I think it is a little different. It looks like it's in a different location, but again, we are on Toshara running from the pike. So a very similar situation going on, and just getting to see some of the gameplay mechanics that we will have on the speeder, similar to what we will see when it comes to the dogfighting in different locations. So just a lot of showcasing some of the gameplay features in this game. And then it cuts to some more blaster combat. This time we are in some sort of Imperial installation. This looks very similar to some of the concept art that we've seen, and we've seen some footage within an Imperial installation of pikes and the Empire working together, and it looks like Kay's trying to steal some cargo or something. So wonder if it is something like this. And Andreas, my favorite part of this sequence right here is not the gunplay. It is Nick's over there being like a little face hugger from Aliens. Like, he is messing this stormtrooper up over there.
Yeah, when I noticed that, I thought it was hilarious. One detail beyond that I want to point out here that I love is also the effects that are being used with the impact of the blaster fire here. And what I mean by that, Nick, is you can see when the stormtrooper gets shot and the blaster bolt hits his helmet, you can see sparks flickering off of the helmet, smoke is billowing out. It reminds me of the practical effects used in the original trilogy. I'm really getting that tangible vibe with the explosions and the blaster fire in this game, and I just think this shot in particular really emphasizes that point.
Yeah, it's a good catch, especially since they've talked so much about wanting to capture the energy of 1970s Star Wars with giving Kay that particular hairstyle and the graphic packages they've been using. So I would not be surprised to hear that that was an intentional thing, what you picked up on, them wanting to capture those practical effects looks from the original Star Wars film. So great catch. I agree. It looks fantastic. It just adds some meat behind that blaster. Like, there's a punch behind that. You could definitely feel the impact, or at least see it. And then this next shot, we are back on Tatooine. I love the shot. It kind of shows some of the scale as to what we can expect when we're exploring around Tatooine. And I don't know about you, Andres, but this shot in particular, I know it's on Tatooine, but this really reminds me of that speeder sequence on Jeddah from Jedi Survivor. Like, almost identical vibes to me.
Yeah, it really does remind me of that as well. And Nick, I have to imagine this is more of an on the rails story experience as opposed to, say, let's say if your wanted level goes up really high, the Empire starts sending TIE fighters after you. I wouldn't expect that per se. But it definitely looks like to me this is like a story segment. But who knows? Maybe they could send TIE fighters after you. We do know from Julian Garrity that the Empire will be sending Death Troopers after you, but if I remember correctly, yesterday there was an Entertainment Weekly article that referenced a quote from Julian Garrity where he said that the wanted level could include at its highest levels Death Troopers and maybe more or something to that effect. So who knows? Maybe TIE fighters could be included in that.
I will say I am wondering what Kay could have possibly done to have a squadron of TIE fighters trying to strafe run her. Like, she has clearly done something that she should not have done, because they really would like to kill her here in this sequence. So as we continue on to this next shot, we get another cinematic shot, and I love to see stuff like that when it comes to these games, a nice balance between that open world and cinematic sequences. I think that just adds to the overall experience of a game. I think everybody, if you ask them what one of their favorite moments from Jedi Survivor is, it is that more cinematic sequence on Jedha at the temple with Cal and Marin. Like, that is one of the most memorable sequences from that game, was that big cinematic shot with that giant robot. Like, that's what people remember, and that is one thing that makes PlayStation first party exclusives so special, are those cinematic experiences. And it really does look like we are getting something there with Kay running through the sparks of this wreckage. Just some really cool shots going on here.
And up next, we've got Kay absolutely decking this poor person. I don't know who this person is, or I can't really recognize what faction they may be a part of. I honestly have no idea, but she absolutely clocks this guy, which I find to be very entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely some sort of like faction warfare type thing going on. If you take a look in the background, everybody's shooting at each other. So there's definitely something going on here. And it looks like this is taking place on Toshara as well. And then as we continue, we are back in the Imperial installation. And it looks like Kay is running for her life to the Trailblazer. It looks like she's been caught in some crossfire with the Imperials. And just before this shot, there was another one of those Sentinel-class shuttles. They really love using those in this game, it appears, instead of the Lambda-class shuttles. Just cool stuff going on here, but definitely looks like Kay and ND5 are trying to hightail it out of this Imperial installation on the Trailblazer. So very curious to see what exactly happened here. I wonder if this is related to that supposed sequence of the Pikes and the Imperials working together, trying to steal some cargo. You get caught. Just really interested to see what exactly Kay is doing here and why she got caught.
And up next, we've got a shot of Kay using her grapple hook on Tatooine. You can tell it's Tatooine by, of course, the binary sunset in the background. Very iconic shot. Nice to see that. And up next, we've got a shot of Toshara. You can tell as much because of the amberine in the background. And then we've seen these creatures, I don't know what they're called because they are of course on a brand new planet created by Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment, but I'd like to learn more about the wildlife on Toshara because these definitely look like animals that you don't want to be messing with. And Nick, this is probably one of my favorite shots of this trailer. I don't know why, but these Jawas are absolutely vibing.
Oh, yeah, and you know that they're going to screw with you. Like, you know you're going to be running around and either they're going to, like, steal something from you or they're going to be a nuisance in a side mission or maybe even a main quest. Like, you know you're going to come across them and you know they're going to ruin your day.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Definitely get that sense as well. And, of course, goes without saying, this shot definitely on Tatooine. And then up next, we've got Nyx holding a blaster here. We do know that Nyx will be able to retrieve blasters for you. We've seen that in the gameplay at this point. And I think the trailer does close out at this point, showing that there will be a new gameplay reveal at Ubisoft Forward on Monday, June 10th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure that you are staying tuned to that because we will definitely be tuned in to UB Forward and seeing all of the exciting new Outlaws gameplay that they will be showing, and rest assured, we will be breaking it down there, right, Nick?
Oh, absolutely. It is going to be a crazy next few days when it comes to the channel. There's so much stuff to talk about. There's a brand new Lego game today, Lego Horizon Adventures, and you guys have been with the channel, you know how much I love that franchise. Just a ton of gaming news coming over the next few days. It's going to be hard to keep up with, but we will do our best to keep you guys covered as much as we can. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for us for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.